So for part two, we're going to talk about evolving our cues a little bit, but we're going to talk a little bit more about how to implement that effectively during our training. So one of the things that I mentioned before is that the harder you're trying, you only have so much focus to invest, right? So the harder you're trying, the more difficult it is to focus on everything your body is doing. And so there's kind of a sweet spot in our training, right? When we are capable of doing a progression, that doesn't necessarily mean that we should be spending all of our time in the hardest progression we can do, right? So if you think about lifting, like, you don't want to max out every single time you go to the gym, right? Like, you should be spending most of your time at a difficulty where you can challenge yourself, but you can still use good form. And the same applies to calisthenics, especially in the planche. So when we're evolving our cues, the easiest way to do that, and to make sure we build a good base, is to make sure that we're at that sweet spot. It's probably in like the 70 to 80% range of like our difficulty, right? So again, that's not where our max attempt, right? And this is something that you'll find calisthenics coaches warn you about a lot. When you're doing your max attempts, because it's so difficult to maintain form when you're trying your hardest, a lot of times that can cause you to regress. Your form can get worse because you're trying some progression that's difficult. So we want to focus on progressions that where 70 to 80% of our effort, for example, like say like my hardest is like a high straddle. Like I spend a lot more time in like a low straddle or like a pike straddle because it's still challenging for me, but I can recover well from that. And I can think about what I'm doing more with my form so that I can get my form cleaner and build a stronger foundation. So when I visit a high straddle every now and then, it looks a lot better. And we want to do that until we're comfortable enough with our hardest progression that it's not our hardest progression anymore. And so once we're comfortable with like what used to be our hardest progression, then we can start to build a base there. But that way, we can make sure that our cues are evolving and that our form is improving while still challenging ourselves. And so the evolving our cues ties into how we should be training as well. So make sure that you're performing at a level where you can be working on your cues, you can be cleaning up your form, and where you're challenging yourself, but you're not yourself, right? Like, you don't want to be like unable to recover because you're trying hard all the time. That's really important. So all those things come together and tie into like cleaning up our form and becoming better at performing the planche.